Are we not live? Or wait, what? We're live.
We are live. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is Sunday night. It is 8:30 p.m. Eastern, and you are tuned in to another episode of Podcast PD. My name is Chris Nessie, at Mr. Nessie on Twitter. I also co-host. I also host the House of EdTech podcast, and I am joined, as always, for this program by my podcast compadres, Stacey Lindis and AJ Bianco. They just complete me on Sunday evenings. Stacey, how are you?
I'm right. How are you, Chris?
I'm doing good. It was a beautiful weekend here in New Jersey as we do the podcast PD weather report.
It was beautiful. And once again, I got some sunburn. I just don't have my sunblock handy. And like usually I have it everywhere. And it's like one of those things that's just always a constant. But I think it's just too early in the season for me to be very aware. And I usually don't spend this much time outside on the weekends before school's over. And so like
Stacey, it's never too early to think about skincare and protecting yourself.
Chris, you're saying that to the Puerto Rican lady who puts on SPF 70. Like, yeah. Like it's, I don't know.
Okay. That's coming from the Italian who tend to not wear any sunscreen at all.
Oh no, I'm like SPF 70, 50 is one of my lowest. So yeah, great weekend. What'd you do?
I painted the boys' rooms this weekend, so that was fun. We got a nice matching shade of blue, and I had a little more fun in Colton's room. I posted some things to my Instagram. I got a little creative with the painter's tape and some Mario wall decals. So his room is a little more pimped than Miles's because, again, Miles is like a 100-year-old man who doesn't like change.
Well, nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. AJ, how are you?
Yo, what is going on, you two and everybody out there? It was great. You know, this weekend was fantastic. I love this. We're gonna talk about the weather. Seriously, I love this weather. This is like my time. The only thing that's missing, baseball. That's it.
Baseball.
It's baseball season. This is it. Middle of May.
My virtual Yankees on RBI Baseball 20 on the Nintendo Switch are steamrolling through the AL East.
See, this is like the time where I want to have a video game system so I can actually play something because I have nothing. I don't have video games.
You don't have video games?
No, I don't do video games.
But you want to get them.
I want to play baseball. Like I need something. Like that.
Something. Anything.
I just need something. Like
okay.
I don't have like I have a video game system. I have a Wii. I have a Wii, but I don't think anything comes out for Wii anymore. I don't even know if Wii is a thing.
Games.
Do they?
Do they?
Yeah.
Isn't that 2 systems ago?
True systems.
No, I'm just saying, like right now the Switch is all the thing, and then everyone in quarantine is playing like Animal Crossing, which I know nothing about. But
yeah, my buddy loves that game.
You don't want. I had my family kill me off the Animal Crossing island earlier this week.
I don't know what that means.
Me neither.
They put me in the game, and then I said, "Take me out."
So it was
took care of business.
So wait, do you have a Switch?
I do have a Switch, yeah.
Okay, but why didn't you want to be in the game?
Because I think it's pointless. I find it not relaxing at all to walk around and do fake stuff, but yet I'll sit and play fake baseball. But anyway,
wait, is it like The Sims? I need to
of
understand it a little bit more.
For animals? Is that what it is? Like it's
No,
for animals. Like the
I'm
farm.
not
There's like some kind of
farm.
farm. There's some kind of farm involved, but
No,
we just get into the body.
All right, if you're interested in Animal Crossing, go ask a child.
Wow.
I don't know. There are some 30 and 40 something year olds playing this game. It's the
All
quarantine rage.
Yeah.
Except none of us know about it. So there you go. Let's move on.
Real quick, we have just want to say hello to the live audience checking in on either YouTube or maybe you're watching us on Periscope, which is where we are also live streaming tonight's show. And if you're on Periscope, come on over to podcastpd.com/live. And we've got the chat room. You can interact with us on screen. If you do want to join us on screen, if you got a question or you want to contribute to the conversation that we're going to have tonight, you can join by going to podcastpd.com/join. That'll put you in the green room, and then we will get you on air. And we'll be excited to do that. Want to say hello to Stephanie out on the chat, Al in the chat, David in the chat, and Sean. First time here. Do we answer ed tech questions? Sure. We will answer any question you have. So you can throw it in the chat, or you can come on screen and you can ask us. If you enjoy the show, please share it with others. Maybe retweet it. Let people know we're here. Let people know you're having a good time on a Sunday night. And I think, AJ, you were going to preview tonight's topic for us.
I'm previewing tonight's topic. Yeah, here we go. All right, so we're gonna dig in, and I think we're gonna get serious here as we focus on the end of the school year. So for us, when we think about the end of the school year, we're still got a couple of weeks away. We think about that, but we really need to focus on what we're doing for our students, and we want to have the outlook of positivity. We want to have a good ending for our students who are really struggling through this time, whether they're seniors or if they're even in kindergarten. Everybody's having a tough time. So we're going to focus on what we're doing, whether it's graduation, whether it's ceremonies, celebrations, assessments, projects, any kind of programs you have in place that you're doing with your schools and your students. Now's the time to share it, because I think everybody's kind of struggling, trying to find out what they're going to do. And I think it's time for us to come together as a community to really understand how we're going to make this year, a good end that can kind of tie a ribbon on something that is not wrapped very nicely.
Yeah, this year is the gift that looks like I wrapped it with my feet and my eyes closed.
Well, at least you had wrapping paper.
Oh, well, yeah. Good point, Stacey. So where do we want to start? I mean, I could certainly come at it from a high school perspective. Stacey, I hope that you can bring the elementary perspective. And I mean, you're also in a unique position being back in the classroom this year after having served as a coach for a number of years. So This has been one heck of an experience for you.
It's been a little nutty for sure. Do you want to start or do you want me to start?
Well, I was also going to tease that hopefully AJ can even give us some perspective, obviously as an administrator, what's going on at that level as well. Mm-hmm. But Stacey, why don't you start us off?
So as we round into this, I guess it really does feel like the final phase of this virtual learning. We start a whole new unit next week, and our entire quarantine time has been marked in these 2-week shifts of learning. So our kids get into that phase of reading and writing that they're super excited for, because they go into a fantasy unit where they get to not only read fantasy, but write fantasy. And it's something that they walk into the school year talking about. Hopefully that will be a little bit of a break from the fact that they're not doing the normal things that they would be doing right now. You've seen it too, Chris, those benchmark years where the kids actually leave the school to move on to the next school in the district. Those are the kids that I feel the worst for. It's not to take away from anyone in any other grade level, because you do have those milestones that you look forward to all year, whether it be field day or, a grade level picnic or whatever it is. But as fifth graders in my district, there are a lot of things that they get to do because they are moving on to the middle school. The kids experience DARE this year. So they have DARE graduation, they have DARE splash. They have, we don't do a formal graduation, so we don't have to worry about that. But we do want to be, mindful that they're no longer getting their fifth grade carnival or the fifth grade picnic, or, eighth grade in my district is another one of those milestone years. Again, no graduation, but they have the awards ceremony and they have other commencement type things without it being caps and gowns and all of that. And, just knowing that prom isn't taking place. I've seen a couple of creative things online, but I haven't really heard what my district is doing. So I think a lot of people are thinking on the individual level, especially at my grade level. What will it look like for kids as they move into the next school year? And I know one of the suggestions I gave to my principal was that next year when we do return, so our first day back in school, whatever day that is, that we actually have a last day of school for the previous year, if that's possible. So that my fifth graders, who would then be sixth graders, report to me for one last day together. And then their first day of school would be the next real day in school. And it all depends on how school starts. And is there a point to that if we don't start in the school, if we don't physically start in the building in September? But I don't know. I would like to be able to physically say goodbye to my kids.
Yeah, I think that's a phenomenal idea. But again, and you just hit that, what that road bump would be. Let's say in-person school doesn't start again in places till like, let's say the middle of October. You would have, those fifth grade students would have already been doing sixth grade stuff
Right.
for, 6 to 7 weeks. So are they going to want to go back to see their fifth grade teacher? I'm sure some of them might, but logistically, I could see where people would say, a little tough, but that's a hell of an idea.
Yeah, I mean, so Larry just asked, what are our thoughts about starting the new school year virtually? I'm really, really nervous for that. Like you pointed out, Chris, this is my first year back in the classroom after 7 years as a coach. And I was gifted with one of the most amazing classes. So like, I would love to start September with the same class. If we weren't going back, I don't know what that would look like. I've seen other parents suggest that,
So
like,
fail them all.
Right. Well, I can't. But that has been the suggestion online from people in my community. Like, just call this year a wash, and the kids repeat everything. And even my students have recommended that.
No
and I'm
way.
like,
for people watching, just so that my eyes fall out of my head. No, it's impossible.
I know. But in my wildest dreams, that would be my reality, right? Like, I'd be able to like find some way to finish my year with these kids. I joke around with them all the time. I was like, are you sure you don't want to stay in fifth grade with me? And one of my kids goes, well, what about the fourth graders who get to have you next year? What will they do? And I was like, okay, fine.
I mean, because you're not willing to teach 60 at the same time.
Not in my classroom. No.
But exactly what you just described, that's the heart of what we're trying to tackle today and get some real ideas for, in terms of how can we make the end of this school year meaningful and valuable, where, you don't get to physically see the kids and they can't see you and we can't see our colleagues, but we can still get closure on the school year,
Yeah. And we are looking for ways to, have some type of closing ceremony for DARE, have some type of end of the year, something or other for fifth grade, fourth grade. And in my building, we have third grade as well. But what does that look like for each of those grade levels? And, at the high school level, I can't even imagine. And you teach college students too. I don't know if you teach seniors, Chris, but I don't know what it looks like or what kind of conversations and discussions you're having at that level for kids who are physically leaving the district, right? Like, they're no longer part of that. So what kind of conversations are you having at the high school and higher ed level?
Well, the first thing I'll say, just to also touch on what Larry says, because I still have it up here. If you start to think about like what's it going to look like next year to start virtually, those conversations need to take place now. Whether you're the superintendent, the supervisors, administrators, teachers, you can't wait till August to think about what next school year is going to look like. Mm-hmm. You got to start having these conversations now. And I think it's critical for districts to rope in all stakeholders into what next school year is going to shape up. So that's my 2 cents on that for now. I'll give you the full 50-cent version in a little while. But actually, before I give my thoughts, we got a couple people in the green
Chiming
room.
In,
So let's bring on Sean.
Hey guys.
Sean, welcome to Podcast PD. How you doing?
Hey, Sean, how you doing?
Good.
Hi, Sean.
Hey, I like the show so far, so you guys are doing a great job.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you kindly. What can we do for you?
Had a question. Looking to gamify my class some more once we get back, and I was wondering if it'd be possible to. I know you could take like a quizzes game and some other like deck toys and some other ones, I think, and you can link it to Google Classroom. I wanted to try to assign points using Google Classroom and then kind of give them rewards if it's possible by maybe some kind of scale or something like that in my class. Wondered what you guys thought about that.
I'll tackle this first. I have my thoughts, but my first answer, and this might be the best thing I say ever, would be you need to reach out to Chris Aviles on Twitter.
Yep.
AJ or Stacey, if you could look up his Twitter handle and drop that in the chat. Chris is a New Jersey educator who he's done stuff here in New Jersey with gamification, and he is in my opinion, the master of it, what he does with his students to gamify. Now, that being said, one, connect with Chris. Two, there are so many things that you can do to gamify your classroom. There are so many tools out there that will help you to keep track and determine what does it mean to level up, and, you know, what's the point system, and, you know, all around what that could look like. What can you tell us a little bit about what do you teach? What grade levels?
Absolutely, yeah. I teach physical science. I teach astronomy to high school. 9th grade is the physical science class, and then I have 11th, 12th grade astronomy. And I already do those individual tools, but I thought it would be a cool idea to link it all together somehow. And I didn't know if that tool was out there. It kind of looked like Google Classroom could do part of that. But
I think
don't
Google
know.
Classroom is definitely the place where when you bring kids into that, you know, ecosystem, yeah, you get them all in one place, but then it's using some of these other tools, whether it's Google Sheets or Google Docs or some of these other platforms that are out there, to give kids access to, say, the leaderboard, or, you know, if you're creating assignments and, you know, you've got choice boards and all the different ways you're presenting content, that Google Classroom is where they access the game and the challenges, or however you structure what you're putting into place.
So you said reach out to what was that guy's name? It's in the notes, you said?
So it's Chris Aviles. He's at Teched Up Teacher. And then another option would also be Steve Isaacs, and he's at Mr._Isaacs. They do their gamification a little differently. Their definitions are a little different. So, but, you know, I recommend that you reach out to them. I think Chris is more what you're looking for, but there's so much to learn from Steve as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We should probably have either one or both of them on a future episode to talk about gamification.
That'd be fun.
We've had Chris. Chris has been on the show.
Yeah, we have had, and that's the other option. I mean, go back and listen to that. Did we speak specifically about gamifying in that episode? I'm trying to remember.
Of course we did. Yeah. He ran with that.
Did he? Okay, because he does a lot of other things too. Like he has like his kid entrepreneurs, like his kids who are doing that kind of work too. So
I'm going on our site to pull that episode, so maybe Sean can take a listen to that.
Yeah, I was looking at my podcast player. Sorry for all the dead air.
Oh, this is compelling.
So, Sean, tell us a little bit about yourself while we're looking for that episode for you.
Well, I originally got plugged in by House of EdTech, actually. So, and I heard sort of this plug for PodcastPD, and you guys were live. So I thought maybe I can ask a question. And I had the opportunity to go to an EdTech conference this year, which was nice because I've been teaching maybe 19 or 20 years, and this is the first time that they asked me to go. So I was really excited about that. So I teach in Ohio, and so actually during that conference, you guys, Chris had mentioned about OODLOO. So I've been trying that out. That's been a good tool to use. And it's been, a very good tool. But yeah, I've been teaching about since 2002, and taught in the country, taught in the city. I've been teaching for about 10 years now at this last school. So
nice. And real quick, I did look it up. Going back into the archives, episode 18, and that episode focused on app smashing with Chris, but I'm sure we talked about gamification, and all his contact information is there. So podcastpd.com/18, you can get the show notes and connect with Chris there as well.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Enjoy the rest of the show, and share your thoughts as we continue the conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Coming up next, we have this AJ wannabe.
AJ part
Welcome to
2.
Podcast PD. Al Spiegel joining us from.
I am, I'm feeling the Jonathan, and I haven't used that in a while, and it's. I don't know if it's an AJ wannabe though. Now, what AJ is wannabe who there?
Oh, wow. My name was up there first, I think. I think my name was up there first.
Alphabetically. So, yeah, I can never. What's funny? My parents never call me Albert. They always call me AJ. And I'm sorry for the noise. I'll mute myself and swear at them in a minute. Everybody, anybody who knew me from 8th grade and younger, I'm Albert. Then it was Al, but my parents and or I'm Little Al or I'm Al Jr. But AJ never stuck for some reason. I wanted it to, and it's never happened. So
you got to keep pushing, because my mom was totally against AJ. I was always Andrew. And if she's listening, nodding her head. So she's saying Andrew is your name. My dad wanted me to be AJ because it was better for sports. So it kind of stuck with me as I kept playing. So now AJ batting AJ Bianco is exactly.
Yeah,
it's so easy to sign too.
Yeah, I would have taken Andrew. Albert was just not a popular, in the middle 80s was just not a popular name. So yeah, I would have taken anything with the A except Albert. But
I'm not gonna knock it. That was my grandfather's name. So
yeah, my grandfather, my father. Yeah, I know. So how's everybody? I haven't seen you guys in live in a month.
Yeah,
Al, real quick. From here on out, every time you come onto this program, you will be known as Lil Al.
That's fine. That's that's fine. It's little Al. I've always been. Because my father was Albert. I've always been Little Al. That's it.
Lil. L-I-L.
It's like, guys, I'm 42. I'm not Little Al anymore. But that's okay. It's you're Little Al. But I call my father what everybody called his father, which was Pop. So it makes sense. If I'm gonna get it, I'm gonna give it back. So absolutely. All right, Little Al. It's fine. I want to change my Twitter handle.
There you go.
It worked for Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne and Lil Bow Wow.
This is your breakout moment.
It's gonna be Lil Al. It's Lillal, like Lil Al. It's gonna be one kind of slurred, noise.
The tech director, formerly known as Al Spiegel, Lil Al.
Yeah, no, Lil Al, and I'll Lil Al class of '95. So yeah, Lil Al.
All right, so how you been?
I like it. Good. We're still in quarantine. Life can't be better. It's great.
Can't be better.
I was watching what you guys, Chris's point about, what are we going to do, and what are we going to do right now? My big guy's in 6th grade, so he has the whole big, the moving up ceremony and all that, which is, I think the principal and the superintendent are going to visit everybody's house and with an awards package after the virtual graduation, which I think is kind of nice. But, I look at it, where I am, it's just, it's like, folks, at some point next year, we're going to have to do this again, whether it's September, whether it's November, we're going to do it again. And we just we have to get our heads around it and plan for it right now. We can't let it's going to be, it's the end of the year. You deserve a break. And then it's going to be August and we're going to have, what do we do? And it's not just go back to what we were doing. It's because I think we need to really evaluate, were we doing the right thing? Were we doing enough of the right thing? So, I don't know. I just don't see enough planning and enough what if going on the administrative side. So I'm hoping that it's my school's an anomaly, but I'm sure it's probably not. So I think that's I think, and I agree to everybody. I like Stacey's idea about the end the year or start next year with one last of your
Just
last
one
class.
last day.
I do like that. I think that'd be kind of cool because all of them are, go right ahead. All of them are they haven't seen their teachers in person since March. So that would be kind of cool. And I know our seniors are, we've got, we're trying with the lawn signs and the this and the that, but we get that it doesn't, it doesn't substitute, but I just don't think there's enough planning. That's the biggest thing that I'm worried about is we're going to have to do it again. Let's yes. And I'm still thinking positive. I'm hoping that doesn't have to be the case, but I want to be prepared for it because We have to be, especially if it's a new year and if you're teaching something new, if you've got new classes next year or new content, whatever, we're not going to wait till, the end of August to do it. But, oh yeah, we can't go back to, it's not business. It's never going to be business usual anymore.
No,
never.
I had a profound tweet earlier today that if you are looking forward to going back to the way things were and, you want to go back to being comfortable, it's time to find a new career, my friends. Get out.
Ain't that the truth?
yeah.
And I will say, completely unrelated, I'm going to use StreamYard on Wednesday. We're doing it's covert, doing a virtual open house on Wednesday, but we're going to do it with StreamYard. So
That's awesome.
We're very excited. Yeah. Since we tried with Zoom and we're like, yeah, this stinks, but because we're going to show some videos and whatnot. So of course I did give you guys props, even though my boss was like, oh, this is great. I'm like, yeah, well, I kind of stole the idea, but but that's
okay. At least you're giving us credit for it. I mean,
I did. I even showed my
StreamYard
podcast
now, and
I did.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
like,
and
hey,
Mike Barilla said they're going to use StreamYard for their 8th grade awards, which will be
I think
all
it's such a
online
stable
this year.
platform, so this is going to be the kind of stuff that should be the norm. Next year going forward. This is, now that we've kind of played with it between March and the end of the year, it's like this could be a norm for all sorts of stuff for next year. So
yeah,
I believe Kevin had reached out to me from a couple weeks ago, and he was using this for, I believe, his National Honor Society induction ceremony. So,
yeah,
they just need to change their user agreement. I reached out to them personally. I was like, "Can we do something with this? Because I can't use it with my kids, because their UA is 18 and up."
Well,
Yeah,
that's if you want to bring the kids in. If you just wanted to run a virtual ceremony that maybe had a slideshow and they're not on video, then you're just leveraging the YouTube platform to stream something that people can access. So I think it all depends
different.
on the use case. Yeah.
Right. It all depends on your use.
I mean, even if I was going to use this to do a high school graduation, I wouldn't bring every kid on here.
Yeah,
I would have a slideshow. I'd have maybe the valedictorian give their speech through here, or run a pre-recorded video. It's almost like I talked about this on an episode recently. Oh yeah, houseofedtech.com. No, chrismezzi.com/156. I talk about how you can stream any school event.
Yeah,
and that's my love affair with this.
Yeah, and I've honestly, if I didn't stumble on Podcast PD, then we wouldn't be thinking about this for this coming week for an open house. But we found like we want to play like a video, and it's much more stable than if I'm sharing my screen on my laptop and the processing is happening on the laptop and then trying to push it out. Whereas opposed to streaming or all the processing is happening on YouTube, it makes it so much easier. So yeah, we're gonna be interesting to see how this goes, but it's definitely it's a game for me. It's a game changer, and it's something like that. Yeah, I could say, well, we could do this for this ceremony or that ceremony or whatever. It's really cool. So that's how we learn, right?
Yeah, speaking of really cool and how we learn, I'm going to keep this metaphor going, and we're going to bring on Lil Jill.
Hey, gang.
Hi, Jill.
Still sounds better than Little Al.
Of course. Well, I'm going to throw the cart out with the horse. And I think that, yes, that there are some ways that this is going to reshape education. But I also believe that there is some value in that human connection. And granted, I'm coming to you from an elementary, middle school perspective. And so I think that face-to-face human connection of those celebratory ceremonies are so important for our kids. And I don't think that we can minimize that. And I also think it's important for our staff to feel valued in participating in those ceremonies also.
Yeah, it's not, it's just not it's not the same. And trying to impress on my 6th grader, you're going to 7th grade next year, you're still going to happen, even though you're not there. And it's I get that. I guess, I didn't, one of my graduate school graduations I didn't go to, but I'm trying to get, like, yeah, guys, it's really not a big deal. But in reality, yeah, it's like, why does it happen at my class? Why is it my year? And I've heard that, a lot. And as much as we could put up, lawn signs and sell T-shirts and all that stuff, I know it's just not the same. I think it's kind of cool that the principal and superintendent are going to show up on my front lawn, but it's a different, it's how do we make the best of this, and how do we, tell the kids, like, almost like, hey, this is special, what other class could it happen to? It could happen to your class, this is how awesome is that, how no one else is ever going to have this, God willing. So
God willing, but I mean, that's a tough sell. I mean, when you think about kids today and the idea of instant gratification, and, I'll go there, a lot of kids have a sense of entitlement nowadays, and, they want what they want when they want it. And, they're going to be bitching and moaning for the rest of their lives that they didn't have all of these things. Now, if I'm a high school senior, let's say, in 10 years, I mean, I don't remember my prom or my graduation. I don't remember where I ranked in my class. I've got all the rest of that life experience since then under my belt. That makes me say there's a lot more important things out there. But I can certainly understand in the moment, these kids aren't happy, and there's nothing we can do that's going to make them say, well, golly, this was great. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I get torn with this stuff because the graduation, I remember it. It was me leaving high school and moving on. That's cool. But like, I feel like graduation, it doesn't. I found somebody sent me this tweet, and it was kind of, it's funny, it's sad, but it's really true. And it's supposed to be comedic. And it says, "Hey seniors, if you're really missing graduation, sit in the sun wearing a shower curtain while someone reads from a phone book for 3 hours." And like, that's your thought of graduation, right? Just calling people's names over and over again. I went to my brother-in-law and sister-in-law's graduation, 2 years in a row from high school. And I was like, oh, same exact program. Nothing really changed here. So, when I look at graduation, like, that's not, if you miss graduation, fine. You're moving on anyway. I get it. You've done those things. I feel bad that they're not saying goodbye to their friends. I feel bad they're not having the experience of a prom, even though I can hardly remember my prom at this point, as we're 20 years out of high school. I don't remember these things, but I understand what you're saying, Chris. Our students really do need that moment. They're not getting that moment. And that really does suck. But the good thing is that, they're going to go to college. They're going to continue to move on. And the kids that graduated for the year 2020 are going to have exactly the same experience, and they can kind of share what they were going through at this time. Like, it's not like one school's like, oh, I graduated. You didn't graduate. Who are you? They're all going to go through this.
And that's the thing. They're not the first class who's not having a graduation, right? Like, I remember we didn't have my commencement outside because it poured the day of graduation. So we had smaller ceremonies. Yes, we were all.
Has your life been ruined because of that, Stacey? Have you just been in the throes of sorrow since then?
No, and quite honestly, I just thought of it, and I still can't. I can't remember right now if it was like my graduation from my graduate program or my undergrad program. But because it was the same school, so whatever. But like, that's how much it doesn't matter. I just remember that, like, we only had our smaller department ceremonies, and it is what it is. Like, at least this class has that one unifying thing, right? Like you're saying, AJ, no one is having a live ceremony, as opposed to like those kids who graduate in the middle of May versus the end of May versus, Mother's Day weekend. Like, too many variables to make it consistent for everybody. And they do, like, speaking to Owl's positivity, this is the one super unique thing that they all have in common. Mm-hmm. And it would just be like, all right, well, how did you spend your graduation? What did your graduation look like for you? And I think what we really need to focus on is making it special in some way, shape, or form, right? So like, I know a lot of the families in my town, because the elementary school in my town goes up to 6th grade. Like, a lot of those kids have those little yard signs that say, graduating class of 2020, Chesterfield Elementary School. And someone went around and put like graduation balloons on everyone's graduation lawn sign. Like, those are the little things that I think will like make it feel like not so like ho hum, and a little bit more like, yeah, we did this, we survived this. This was our year.
Right,
I
that's
got to say that
go ahead, Chris.
that's
Sorry.
definitely important to try to make it special, because otherwise, let's say you're high school, you run the risk of your graduating class of 2020 leaving your school and your district hating your school and your district. And these last few weeks and this whole, between March and the end of the year, if it's not the best you can possibly do with the circumstances, you're going to have a class that hates your school and your district and has resentment for the community and, what didn't happen or couldn't happen. And, I don't think any school district wants that bad taste of kids leaving and looking back on the whole experience saying that wasn't good.
Right,
Well,
but
I think that's a shift in mindset for those kids too. Go ahead, AJ.
No, it's all right. I was just saying, like, you keep saying the word special, and yes, I agree, special, but I really think everybody needs to be on the same page, because you can't one up the next school. And that's where the problems are going to start. Like if your school is going around with, take Al's example, and the superintendent, the principal are going from kid to kid, that's good. But then the next town over, they're not doing that. Maybe they're not even getting lawn signs. Maybe they're only getting, the cap and gown has to go get picked up, or you're not getting that face to face. Not everybody can do that. It depends on the situation. And I feel like we're at the point right now where different schools are trying to one up the next school over. They want to make sure that they stand out, and they want to make sure that they're doing it the best way. They want to make sure they're incorporating the best technology. Like people are like, oh, we're going to do a parade and a drive-by. And then another school is saying, well, no, we're not supposed to do a parade and drive-by. And then somebody's like, well, we're going to have laser lights at the school. Another person's putting all the graduation, the kids' names on the front lawn. So like, where's the tipping point? Where's that one point we go, well, why didn't you guys do that for my child?
In my school community, urban district.
Right. Where's the equity?
Can't put lawn signs in a concrete sidewalk.
Even when we're going to stream graduation now. So how do we know all the kids have access? Well, granted, if you have a Chromebook, maybe you can do it that way. But what if you don't have access to graduation? You're still going to stream it, right? And that kid might miss their graduation for real. So what's the equity there? So we're going to keep doing the thing to one up, but we're missing out on the kids who are the most important. It's not our egos. It's for the kids to celebrate their graduation.
And you know what, AJ, that's such a great point, because that's something that I want to circle back to, because I know, Stacey, you were talking about, like your graduations, and I know I look back at my graduations and all the different ones that I've attended or not attended, and I'm looking at it from the adult lens. I'm not looking at it from that child or teenager lens, and that's what I'm trying to do as a principal, is to say, okay, what do my elementary school age students, my fourth graders, like, this is a big part. Like, moving up has always been a big deal in our district, which is great. And I accept that and I embrace it. But at the same time, like, how can I still acknowledge that, even though it's not going to make a difference 20, 30 years down the line? I know that at this moment in their lives, I'm making a difference. And that's where I'm trying to find that balance and trying to find the right for my district. And AJ, like you were saying, not trying to one up my other districts and my surrounding districts, because, we all work together, but also to, at the same time, be able to celebrate my students. And, it's a fine balance, and it's a difficult balance that we're all trying to work out. And Chris, to your point too, like, I've got students in my district who, are not, I can't put a lawn sign out on their front lawn. And so what do I do for them? And how do I make it equitable at the same time? And so it really is a struggle for us administrators to figure out at any level what's going to be right for our kids.
And, and maybe it's not so much, and I hear AJ's point about, are we, and I think to some extent we are trying to one up, from district to district, but at the same time, like, we, Bergen, everybody, they bought lawn signs, and we divvied up. 21 of us went out on Wednesday and delivered them. And I said, you know what? I don't care so much. I think that was it was just a nice thing to do. Like, does it I don't care if any of our competitor schools or anybody else did it. Like, it was nice. I said, hey, I'm going to, it's something I can do to make hopefully your experience be a little bit better. Now granted, one or two kids saw me and like the curtains closed and it was like, odd, but it just felt like it's a nice thing to do. And you know what? I think that to that personal touch, whatever we can give these kids, even if it means that the faculty's going to stand there and, somebody's going to stand at your curb and just wave to you, something that, this does make you feel special. And it's in this day and age, it's tough because we're always looking at that. We're judged on, well, are we doing this because we care or because we want to look like we care, and it's something, whatever we can do, to make every kid feel special. I'm all for it, whatever that has to be. And if it means driving around or whatever, I just think it's important. You're right. You're all right. That they need to feel that special, Yeah. It's cool. I hate to say the word entitled, but I'm entitled to feel, this just as much as everybody else. And even
and just an acknowledgement that it's different.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. To be seen.
Well, that, and AJ, you were just saying an amazing thing is that, and you said it kind of like in passing, is that I want to feel acknowledged too. Like, we've worked hard. We've worked hard with these kids all year, and we are doing things that we never planned to be doing. And part of celebrating their accomplishments are also, that energy that we need to re-energize ourselves throughout the summer and to make the plans and to figure out how we're going to start the school year if A, B, or C happens. But, we also need that too. And I think that that's also important for not only us as leaders, but also for our staff as teachers. Like, they need to feel that they're making a difference also.
Absolutely. Real quick, I do have another person waiting in the wing, so I'm going to bring on Raquel.
Hey.
How you doing, Raquel? How are you?
Good. How are you, Chris?
I'm doing well. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you too. Thank you for inviting me.
It's a party. Everybody is welcome here on Podcast PD.
Hi, everybody.
How are you? Thank you.
Raquel, real quick, why don't you just quickly introduce yourself, where you are, what you do?
Well, I am a word language teacher, and I work in a Metuchen school district. And I also, I am the mind behind METAC, which is the Metuchen Technology Symposium. You probably see on Twitter something about it. Yeah.
Just about the time I was going to apply for that this year.
I know. Yeah, we even thought about it, do like our online version. But after a lot of meetings, we decided to just go better and bigger next year, God willing, and let the teachers focus on their families and what they're doing with their own district. There's too much going on for us to add on top just to do it. So we kind of made a decision not to, we postponed, right? We canceled for this year and we had to go better and bigger next year.
So Raquel, what are your thoughts on the end of the year? Obviously, you a world language teacher, so you have your own students. So what does the end of the year look like here for you, and what are you trying to do to make it special?
Yeah, you see, for the point of view of a teacher, we have to wait for the admin for guidelines. We can decide and say, okay, I want to do that. We got to kind of follow what everybody's going to do. Tomorrow, actually, in my school, we have a faculty meeting, and they're going to tell us what are the guidelines for the school. But what I have done in my class to make the kids more close together, connected. I have done, because I'm a word language teacher, so I'm in elementary school now, so I see everybody, and it's like crazy. Try to catch up with all the students through Zoom. It's a lot of like 500 kids, and you have like to make a schedule to see everybody so they don't feel like, what is my Spanish teacher want, And so what I'm trying to do is do mini celebrations on Fridays. I have a puppet, and then we did a Cinco de Mayo. We had planned like a Cinco de Mayo assembly this year with mariachis and everything, and we had to cancel. So I tried to make it up by making like a party for them. And moving forward, every time I'm with the kids on Zoom, I just try to be positive and try to tell them, even in the Cinco de Mayo, I say, who would think that Mexico would beat the French army, the most powerful army? But they believe, they stay together, they stay connected, and they did. And the same way we're going to beat the coronavirus. So I kind of try to make them more not to lose focus. Let's be positive. This is going to pass, and we are going to do what we can do, the best we can do. It's new, so we're all learning, and I don't think we need to be so hard on ourselves. We go
there's a lot of people who are definitely beating themselves up, and I don't think that needs to be the case.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think like we are changing the tire as we are driving.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great analogy.
We just need to one day at a time, and do your best with your best of your intentions. With a good heart, the kids feel that. And what you cannot do, you cannot beat yourself. You have your family. Also to attend. Everybody's home now. We're like, we moms, we need to cook and take care of our kids. At the same time, we have to teach. So if you're trying to be a superstar, superwoman, you're going to get burned out, and you're not going to be able to end the year. So it's one day at a time. That's my approach.
I agree, and I gave up trying to be a superwoman long, long ago.
You're too funny. You're too funny. Yep, nice. But I think that's it. And I heard you guys saying about end of the year celebration. I agree with AJ that he said that whatever we can do to make them feel special. Unfortunately, we can't have a real graduation, but that doesn't mean that we cannot celebrate them, that we should not celebrate them. And I think this is an awesome teachable moment for us to teach our own children, because I have a 13-year-old that's in 8th grade. So she's missing all the field trips, end of the year field trips and prom and all this stuff. So, but I think this is a great teachable moment. And we gotta talk real with the students and our children that things happen in life. You don't have control over your life, and things is going to happen, and how you're going to approach the challenges and difficulties in your life. So that's an awesome time for us to have real talk with them. If they're going to understand now, it's another story, but later on they will remember. But I think as the adult here, the parents, we need to use this to tell them that things sometimes are not going to go the way we want. And it doesn't need to make us feel down or feel defeated or frustrated. We can overcome and keep going, hoping for a better future and a better days.
Yeah. AJ, is it from Dan Bauer's podcast where he talks about, what's the quote that he uses at the end of his show? Life is like 10% of what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. Is that how that goes?
That is it. That's how it goes. Correct.
How are we reacting? We have little control over what happens, but we can certainly control how we act and react given the circumstances. All right. Some good comments coming in here. A lot of people agree with AJ tonight. That's a new thing.
This is the first.
I agree with AJ all the time.
Thanks.
Nice. So again, we've got about 10 minutes left in this recorded portion. So do we want to shift gears and do our recommendations?
Might as well. It's PodcastPD is what we do, right?
There you go. But before we get to our podcast recommendations, want to do a quick let you know promo, whatever you want to call it, commercial. Did you know that you can support Podcast PD as an executive producer? That's right. You can show your support on a monthly or a yearly basis, or you don't have to support us at all. But if you are interested, you can support the show by donating $5 a month or $50 a year. As a thank you, every supporter will receive a Podcast PD sticker, and yearly supporters will also receive a Podcast PD mug and a Podcast PD t-shirt. If you are interested in becoming an executive producer, go to podcastpd.com/executive producer for more information. We like what we do, and if you want to help us out, help us out. All right, let's do our podcast recommendations, and our guests who are here, if you want to also recommend a podcast that you enjoy or you have gotten value from at any point, feel free to share that. But AJ, you are up first.
Oh, thanks for putting the pressure on me there. All right. So I've been digging into a podcast lately called Compete Every Day. And I feel like I've been sharing this with multiple people who I talk to every day. And the episode that I'm going to focus on is called Stop Doing Nothing. If you want to know about Compete Every Day, obviously it's about competitions, about athletics. And the host, his name is Jake Thompson. He talks to leaders with various areas such as business, sports, fitness, entrepreneurship, to learn what mental, habitual, and physical systems they use in order to succeed in their professional and personal lives. So the episode I'm referring to is called Stop Doing Nothing, and it kind of smacked me in the face pretty hard. And the guest, his name is Patrick Almond, and he uses the phrase, done is better than perfect. And I think we can all kind of relate to that. And I know for sure that I can relate to that, because I always believe that I can't start unless I have the perfect plan of how it's going to look. And what the host and Patrick Almond talk about, he calls this analysis by paralysis. And it's pretty crazy to think about the fact that, you know, we do these things and we can't move forward because we want to make sure that we are putting the best picture of ourselves forward. And we don't want to take that time to reflect, and we don't want to take that time to make the change while we're going through a process. So in this episode that I was listening to, I'm just going to read exactly what it says here. It says, it's easy to get stuck on repeat in our heads, worrying that we don't know what to do. We spend hours, days, even weeks trying to plan out the smallest details and weighing one option over another. Patrick Almond says, taking a single small step every day is what we have to do to keep moving. Even if our path takes twists and turns along the way, we'll still get there eventually. If we never take the first step, though, we'll stay trapped in the same place as time passes us by. So make the choice, take the step, and walk into tomorrow with purpose. And listening to the words throughout the podcast, you know, really kind of woke me up to get my rear end in gear and start doing the things that I wanted to do that I've been putting on hold because the planning is there, and then I never take the step past the plan. So if you're like me, if you feel like you're stuck and you feel like, you know, you don't want to take that step forward, I think this episode really gets you going. And Chris, I know I recommended it to you, so I wonder what you were thinking about that.
Well, the episode that you recommended, I listened to it last night, late at night after you and I were, you know, hanging out on the internet, and I really enjoyed it. And I clicked subscribe, and I found a couple other episodes in the back catalog that I was interested in, and thank you for that recommendation. I look forward to getting more out of it. And certainly that athletic twist is one that I can relate to still, I guess.
Well, maybe.
If the CrossFit gym ever opens again and I can get back out there. I'm getting tired of just walking and riding my bike. All right. Mine, I'll go next because Stacey didn't fill in the box yet, so that gives her a little more time. So this one actually came through. I listened to Up First on a daily basis from NPR. And today they had a bonus edition where, and NPR is good at this, as Stacey let us know before the show, they will sometimes slip in other episodes of other shows into their other show feeds. So today, the Up First, they slipped in an episode of NPR's Rough Translation. Here's the description for that podcast in general. How are things we're talking about being talked about somewhere else in the world? Gregory Warner tells stories that follow familiar conversations into unfamiliar territory. At a time when the world seems small, but it's hard as ever to escape our echo chambers. Rough translation takes you places. So the episode that they put into the feed today, and for those watching on YouTube, I pulled up the page. For those listening, it'll be in the show notes. This was their May 13th episode titled Hotel Corona. So here's the description for this episode. 180 recovering COVID-19 patients. One Jerusalem hotel. Secular, religious, Arabs, Jews, old, young. Their phones are out, they're recording, and the rest of Israel is tuning in. So this is a hotel in Jerusalem that had all these COVID-19 patients recovering, and they're from all different races and religions from that area of the world. And normally these are groups of people that do not get along, but now they were in this hotel and they got along. And, a lot of the racism and, divide between people kind of disappeared over time as these people were able to be connected. And it's interesting, at the beginning of the show, it talks about how, people were seeing this on the news, and it's like, we're all outside of this environment where we have to be socially distant and physically distant from each other, and we can't have these connections and touch and be close to people. And here in this hotel, they've already got the disease. So they're just like in a hotel, and they're connected and talking and touching and being connected in ways that a lot of the world has stopped. So this was a really interesting episode of this particular show, and it will be in the show notes out at podcastpd.com/74, or you can find rough translation in your podcast catcher of choice.
Okay. So it's my turn.
You're next.
All right. So first of all, my because this interests people for some reason, my podcast number is 2026.
What? Wait, what?
You're welcome.
What?
Yeah.
Repeat.
I don't listen the way I used to.
You don't listen at all.
You don't listen the way you used to. What are you talking about?
Okay. So I've been reading a lot of books. If you follow my Instagram, you see that I read
see flamingos and sheds. I don't see books.
That's true. I do a lot of running too. And so I don't listen to podcasts when I run. I only really listen to them in the car when I'm doing household chores. And it's just not the same. So if I'm walking, I can listen to a podcast, but I'm doing a lot more running, so it's not working for me. Anyway.
Wait, hold on. We quick comment from the chat. Stephanie, no worries.
See?
Stephanie around 1,500.
See,
Stephanie, I say the same thing.
People.
What is going on?
And Stephanie has my recommendation. So I have not listened to it, so I'm going to throw that caveat out there. Unlocking Us with Brene Brown is my recommendation. Like I said, have not listened to a single word of it. However, the recommendation, I know, hold on. I've downloaded them all. But the recommendation came not only from my principal, who I very highly respect, but also from my sister, who is my book whisperer. And we have a lot of the same tastes when it comes to books. And we also have a lot of the same taste when it comes to podcasts. And the other reason I'm saying to go with that is because I've been listening to a lot of Brene Brown's books. I know, AJ, you're giving me this face. Huh?
I'm reading one of her books, and I'm not digging.
Are you reading Dare to Lead? Because I remember you saying that. All right, so we need to have a side conversation.
Pick it up again. That's why it's not finished.
Oh, you haven't been able to pick it up again?
I don't like it.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay. You didn't marry it.
AJ, is it being used to hold up your laptop right now? Is that the value you're getting from it?
No, I'm using math books for my laptop right now. Thanks, Jamie.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. So I read all of my Brene Brown books out of order, but I started with Braving the Wilderness, and I thought that was a really great book. And I find that she, like many authors in her genre, tend to repeat themselves a lot. Gretchen Rubin does that, right? I think I'm on my second or third John Gordon book during this quarantine, and I'm feeling the same way. I read The Energy Bus though, and so all of Al's positivity, I'm digging because I was just I finished it today, and I was like, this is awesome. So if I can find a John Gordon podcast, if that's out there,
yes, I've recommended it.
I'd have to listen to
it's part
our
of your
show.
29,000 podcasts you don't listen to.
Wait, is it just him being interviewed, or is it his own show?
He interviews.
he interviews others.
Yes.
All right, I'll add that.
Yes. It's hold on, I'll get the name.
More
for
people
it.
agree with AJ, by the way. Dare to Lead was
I am on
according to
fire
Mike.
tonight.
Yeah, Dare to Lead. I'm struggling. I'm on the struggle bus with Dare to Lead. But I also ran out of time with Daring Greatly. I don't know. It's just too many things to listen to. So podcast kind of took the back burner, as they always do.
John Gordon's podcast is called Positive University.
Positive University. Awesome sauce.
We could all use a degree in happiness.
Yeah, I like him.
His energy bus was
Fantastic.
spectacular. I read that in 2 days.
Yeah.
You probably read it faster, but I ran out of time.
There is the audiobook also. I had it.
Yeah, I listened to it. Yep.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yep. He's got the 10 things that you need to do, and Joy's on his bus. And I just like the way it all tied together. So you're going to listen to or read the energy bus, and then go check out Brene Brown's podcast. Those are my recommendations. Stop making faces at me, AJ.
I'm going to give her podcast a try.
Okay.
I will. Can't be worse than the book.
All right. So Raquel, Jill, Lil Al, do any of you have a podcast recommendation, something you're enjoying listening to, whole show, specific episode, something you'd like to share?
I like Cam Bond's podcast for the Department of Education. I don't know if you had a chance to listen before to Ken. He has different shows. It's called DOE Digest podcast. He's pretty good. The last episode was about having balance. Exactly what we were talking here before on virtual remote learning. So keeping your mental health. He actually put virtual mental health. They're talking about how we need to keep the balance between teaching remotely and also take care of yourself and, stress. So it was really interesting. There are a lot of past episodes on what's it called? Social emotional learning.
Mm-hmm.
So there's one even I participate to the point of view of a word language teacher. And so they have a lot of different episodes. So it's a good podcast to listen to and update things that happen on the state, in schools. So it keeps us informed.
Nice. And Raquel, before we let you go, how can people connect with you? What's the best way to continue to learn and speak with you?
I am on Twitter. So Raquel William 37.
Nice. Raquel, thanks for being with us tonight.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks so much, Raquel. Thank you.
Everybody.
Bye, Raquel. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm going to jump in here, just because I am a podcast connoisseur, as they would self-proclaimed. So a couple things that I have gone back to that are non-educator related are Radiolab. I just found out that one of the co-hosts actually recently retired back in January. And so I'm interested to see where the show is going to go, because I've been listening to it for quite a number of years, and it is produced by NPR. So it's one of those, very well-established ones. Stacey, like you, I have actually gone back to reading a lot more than I have listening. But one of the things that I listen to all the time is What Should I Read Next? And
yes,
it's by Anne Bogle. And it's just, it's just one of those bibliophile, beautiful, well done, podcasts that is all about just reading and books and all of that. And then Chris, I know I've mentioned it before, still tapping into Criminal.
It's one of my go-tos. Did you listen to the one? Oh, it was, I forget the name. It was about like the frozen deaths where people, like the cops were taking people out and like letting
Starlight
them wander
Tours.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, such a good episode.
It was. I mean, I've been listening to that for years. Of course, House of Ed Tech. Feed Your Spirit. And then also there's a new one.
Time out. Hold on, Jill. You can't just gloss over your own podcast. So you are a podcaster. You have your own show, which is called
Feed Your Spirit, which is
Okay,
non-educational.
pimp your podcast. Let's go.
It is not educational, but it is something that I've been called to. And so I talk to people just about their experiences in lives and challenges that they face and how they overcome them. And it's beautiful. And it is edited. All all things out there. It is edited by Chris Nessie, but he does an
Mr.
amazing
Podcast
job.
over here.
He is. And you know what? I love it. And I love just talking to people and getting to know them. And as as some of you have heard from me throughout this time here, I just let's challenge each other and let's learn from each other and let's grow from each other. And that's what we do. But then also too, one of the other ones that has been like pulling me in, and it was out a while ago, but it's now just kind of getting back, is Dr. Death. Which I'm sorry, Stace. I see your face.
Don't worry, I'll screenshot and get a meme later.
Thanks, Chris.
Oh, it's all about it's a real life story of a doctor who was in Dallas and his patients just started having some severe complications and just the whole story that unfolds from that. So, yeah.
I have two other recommendations for you if you want to
Yes.
to keep going. So Anne Bogle, you mentioned her. She also has one great book.
Oh.
Where she only talks about one book per episode. And that's a lot of fun. It fits right in there with just a good book recommendation. And I love What Should I Read Next? It's just such a good platform and a good I just like the way she does it. Like her format on that is really good. And then another one is called Over My Dead Body.
Oh,
and
yes.
Oh, did you listen to that?
Not yet. I've got it queued up.
I binged that. So see, Chris, I am listening to new stuff. So Over My Dead Body, my best friend and my husband got each other listening to it. And then I went and listened to the whole thing. It's kind of serial-esque, and has like a good, quick story, and it's not overwhelming. I think it's like, I'm trying to see how many episodes it was. It's like 15 episodes total with all the extras. But you kind of get like a good summary, and then things kind of are in limbo because of COVID-19, because it's kind of following things along in real life as well. So, yeah. Let me know what you think, Jill.
I'm sorry. I love it because the one thing I love about What to Read Next with Anne Bogle is that she's not afraid to shy away from YA books. And to me, that's so important because, it's what we do. And, how can we talk to kids about this love of reading unless we're doing it and we can connect with them? And there's so many books that I've connected with through her podcast and I've read and that I'm like hooked on because of that.
Yeah, agreed.
And Jill, before we let you go, how can people connect with you if they want to continue any conversation with you?
Oh, definitely through Twitter at Mrs. D, MRSD122. And there's AJ's kids.
Yeah. No, that's the other AJ, not mine. That's the other ones. So it depends. Like whenever they say AJ has a great idea, that's me. But when they say, "Oh my God, there's AJ's kids," that's him. That's not me. That's not my kids.
I love it.
My monsters are.
As long as they don't swear, it's fine. But when the longshoreman comes out, it's that's no, not mine. I don't. Was that outside?
Yeah, no, definitely through Twitter at MSRD122. And just so that everybody knows, 122 was the number of my very first classroom. I was not the 122nd Mrs. D on Twitter.
Nice. All right, Jill, we will talk to you soon. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks.
Thanks, Joe.
Bye, Joe.
Hi, Joe.
All right, Lil Al, you got a recommendation for us?
Yeah, well, it's I've been starting to, since the last time where I got challenged. I didn't have any good recommendations. I'm starting to listen to this one. Well, it's Inside EMS, because in this day and age and all the stuff that we constantly deal with, I constantly have to learn, and be up on not so much new stuff, but it's like what other people experience, and just thinking on your feet, and just, it's not just, I mean, I don't know. I kind of have to, there's always something new to learn, and not from a book, from somebody else, for a lot of experiential stuff. So, my two go hand in hand. It's that one, and it's, Stuff You Should Know. I think it's for the people who do How Stuff Works. And it's just like, random things like, this is how this works, or this is how that works. I don't know. It's just, I think part of being able to be creative and, to be a problem solver and all that is the more you kind of understand about just how things work, and I don't know, broadening my horizons, so to speak. I know from the EMS standpoint, it's, I'm not a firefighter, I'm an EMT, but, I know a lot about how firefighting works, because sometimes we're doing the same thing. We're at the same, scene together. And like, if I know what they're doing, they know what I'm doing, that whole idea of cross training, it's like I'm cross training on life. So the more I know about everything, the better. So, there's times where, as much as there's so much good education stuff out there, it's like, I don't, it's like, okay, it's how much we go through that, how much we learn. It's like, I want to learn something different, and get, something maybe that I never knew this before. I want to learn about, I don't know, how to cut wood, or I don't know, how to do plumbing, stuff that, I don't know, you never really had time for. So, I like this Stuff You Should Know. So that's my, I've become I'm not going to get in your Stacey's like 55,000 podcasts, but
It's only 2,000.
Yeah. I thought it was, I thought I heard, today. So
I think there's a limit. I don't think I can get any more.
Are you trying to find the limit? I mean,
no, but I just added that one that somebody else recommended, and my number didn't go up. How does that work?
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a puzzle for another day, Stacey.
Yep.
Al, thanks for joining us tonight. How can people connect with you?
Twitter, Al Spiegel, but I think it might have to change. We might have a new Twitter handle next time. I don't know.
We'll Al.
We'll Al.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. It's always a
Al,
pleasure,
thanks
y'all.
for being with us tonight.
Thank you. Always love it.
Bye.
Chris, one more
All right,
podcast
and
recommendation.
Say it again.
One more podcast recommendation.
Yeah, there is. You read my mind, Chief. We do have one more podcast recommendation this evening. So for those of you who are watching visually, fancy. So we have this up on the screen, and we do have a little snippet of audio for you listening on the podcast side and watching. So here we go.
Hello and welcome to Reflect Ed. I'm AJ Bianco, and I'm so glad you're here for the teaser of Reflect Ed. What is Reflect Ed? We are going to reflect on our career as educators and leaders. We're going to focus on what is working in our schools, what doesn't work in our schools, and challenges and successes we may have, and our future improvement for ourselves. Please make sure you click subscribe so you get episode 1 when it releases on June 1st. Check out reflectedpodcast.com for more information, and follow me on Twitter at AJ Bianco. The podcast may be terrible, but that music is dope.
What is up,
can't
AJ the podcaster?
Well, I am a podcaster. That's what we're doing here. Podcast.
You have your own solo show.
I have my own solo show. I'm going solo.
Ugh.
I'm leaving all y'all fools.
It happens.
No, I'm just kidding.
So this is AJ's last.
This is Harry
podcast
Styles
PD.
moment.
Stop it.
So tell us about the show, AJ.
You just heard about it in the teaser.
That's true.
No, in all seriousness, it's about reflecting. It's about looking at what we do, what we don't do, what we can do, where we want to go, how we want to plan our futures, how we're going to make schools better for ourselves, for our students and our teachers. So, for the first couple episodes, I'll be honest, it's probably just going to be me just talking about some ideas, sharing some thoughts. But I'm looking for you out there to come join me on the journey and share your thoughts, your vision, and your mission in education.
So people right now, you need to go in your podcast catcher and
Catch it.
Or go on your phone, go to reflectedpodcast.com. You can subscribe to AJ's show in Apple Podcasts, Overcast, Castbox, Spotify. The RSS is
the
there.
Google.
So if you use another
Google.
app, the Google, it's available in Google Podcasts. So click subscribe so you get our podcast compadre's very first episode when he drops it on June 1st.
June
is-
1st.
so
Which is much sooner than I realized. So June 1st.
Yeah, because next week is Memorial Day weekend.
Oh my God, that snuck up on me. It's my son's birthday. I completely forgot that it was like next week. Not that I forgot.
Well, AJ and I
May
were
is a
talking
busy month for
yesterday.
us.
We were talking last night, and he was like, "Oh, so we're not going to do a show next week because it's Memorial Day weekend." I'm like, "Next week's the 24th," and then I realized that the following Monday is June 1st. So yes, next week is
No show.
Memorial Day weekend, which also means we're not going to be here live because it's Memorial Day weekend. So we'll be back on Sunday, May 31st. First, that's how time works.
Oh.
So yeah. So we hope you guys enjoyed Podcast PD live tonight. Thank you to Jill and Al and Raquel for coming out and being a part of the show, and also to Sean for coming in and asking a question to start the show. Hopefully you
That was
connect
awesome.
with Chris Aviles and learn about gamification and adding that awesome sauce to your classroom. Stacey, I think it's
It's time
for
to do the magic. All right. Well,
Time for the
we
magic.
thank you for being here. Say goodnight, Christopher.
Good night, Christopher.
Say goodnight, my new podcast solo host, AJ.
Good night, AJ.
All right. Good night, Podcast PD. Bye.
All right. So real quick, thanks to everybody who came out in the chat tonight for your comments. We'll see you in a couple of weeks, and please spread the word. Make sure you follow us at PodcastPD on the Twitter, on the Instagram. If you're not subscribed to the podcast, go to podcastpd.com/go, and hopefully you're already subscribed. And we'll see you next time. Bye.